I mean, I would not rest till he's choking on his own teeth.
Yeah. I want to remind everyone that this episode idea was also by the same guy whose name is on the side of the building we're sitting in.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery, of a sham, of a mockery, of a travesty, of two mockeries, of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!
Hello, everybody. It's time for more Law Light, brought to you by Foreman Watson Holtry, 530 Frederick Street, Owensboro, Kentucky, in the high-rise White Palace.
Yes.
You like that better
I
than
did.
tower? Hey, no more tower.
No more tower.
No more tower. This, my friend, is the high-rise White Palace.
White Palace. That just rolls off the tongue.
It does. It does. you like?
It'll probably have to grow on me.
Much better than the tower. High-rise White Palace. Yes. Where kings and queens reside.
It sounds better than a high-rise white building.
There you go.
Much better than
Brick edifice.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm doing all right. You?
Good. Hey, good. Coming off our anniversary podcast.
I know. What a whirlwind.
We got a lot of feedback from that thing, man, didn't we?
Oh, yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And it accomplished exactly. So job well done, my man, on orchestrating all that and taking the little blip on the screen beforehand where we didn't get to do it exactly when we wanted to.
It was a team effort.
And I'll tell you what, for those of you that don't know, I mean, like a lot of times we fit this podcast in at times we weren't expecting to have to do it, right?
Right.
And
like right now.
Right, exactly. and so here's the deal. We did that anniversary when we envisioned it. Didn't you envision it in like this block of time where we would be just getting people as we could?
I figured it was going to take a day, maybe two, of organizing and getting people together.
And we literally squeezed everybody into 1 hour except for one last person. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It was great. It was just great. So good job.
It was fun too.
But now
and
we
it was
are
a lot of laughs.
In year 2.
I know.
And
crazy.
And at the end of this month, you and I are having our meeting where we're going to sit down and map out and have an invitation sent to podcast guests. So looking forward to that. So we got some filler here for a few weeks before we get to that.
It's never filler.
And today, it's one of our famous follow my leads.
Right. That's what you said whenever we started this. I have no idea what you're going to talk about.
No idea what we're talking about. So
this should be interesting.
I promise that this is going to go somewhere, and it's going to be legal related.
It's going to go somewhere, all right.
It's going to go somewhere legal related. It's going to.
Okay.
We're going to tie this one all back into an educational program.
Sounds good.
But before we get there, we're going to have a little fun.
I don't have my phone with me.
And the fun,
phone.
This is not, no, we're not. Which, let's see. Okay, so, there's a lot of sparring back and forth right now with debates between politicians, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And sometimes I have this part of me, I don't know if it's like, I don't know what it's tied to. Like, maybe I should have been alive during gladiator days or something. Okay, there's a side of me, I'm just going to tell you, PJ, that when I watch people do their political debates, I wonder to myself, if we got these two just out on the street and let them roll up their sleeves and just let them duke it out, just let them go at it, who would win? And I envision a fist fight between them. Like, all right, so get this now. So you've got, like, this last week, there was a debate between Mitch McConnell and Amy McGrath, all right? And I wish I could tell you that I didn't envision that fist fight, but you got old man Mitch, who's like older than dirt, right?
Right.
And you've got Amy McGrath, who is a Marine.
Oh, yeah, that's the first thing that popped into my head. She would mop the floor with it.
Right, and isn't that a great visual of if we could just get those two to a fist fight,
Yeah.
Right? Just lay it, just fists, man. Get in there and you know, and it's not in a ring. I don't want it in a ring. I want it out on the street where it could get dirty, like, you know, like biting and.
I was gonna say, like, what are the rules?
Pulling
Anything
the hair,
goes.
okay, like.
Knock down, drag out.
Yes, just go at it. Just, you know, and so that's kind of I've done that, like, for the better part of my adult life. When I see the political debates, I'm like, I wonder who'd beat who if they just went at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're gonna do, PJ, is we're gonna have a little fun with our staff. And we're going to do a little bracket here real fast, okay?
Okay.
And we're going to see ultimately who would win in an all, no holds barred, no weapons other than fists, feet, fingers, teeth, you know,
assuming
that kind
Mitch
of thing.
McConnell has it.
Right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a tournament bracket.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to see who we think here at the F-Dub would be the reigning ultimate champion in a street fight. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, I'm gonna pick the first duel, and then you pick the next one until we have exhausted pretty much everybody. Okay. And then we will advance the winners, and we're gonna go through this pretty quick because I as promised to the listeners out there, this is all gonna tie in to a legal lesson, an educational podcast today. All right. Now,
Okay.
All right. So I'm gonna go. This is Foreman, Watson, and Holtree employees and/or attorneys. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm gonna take the obvious one. I am going to pit Jeff Foreman against Jim Watson. Okay.
Okay.
Now I picked the battle. You've got to tell me the winner. And then when you pick the battle, I'll tell you the winner. So we have Jeff and Jim squaring off in a back alley.
Okay.
Toe to toe. Who wins?
You know, honestly, I think Jim would win.
Okay, now, and what's your reason for Jim Watson advancing in the street fight challenge?
People who tend to be more boisterous, or like the type of person who would boast or run their mouth, if you will.
Oh, this is good.
Tend to be the ones who get it in the end. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
Like
all right,
the one,
so-
and Jeff seems like he would be more of the boisterous, boasting type. Jim's a lot quieter. It's the quiet ones that you tend to have to worry about. They're the ones who surprise you.
Okay.
When it's all said
Fair
and
enough.
done.
I think that's
so
a
I
good
think it would be Jim. I think Jim, you know, he seems like he would be more meek and mild.
Who would be the first of those two to fight dirty?
Probably Jim.
Oh, you think?
Because
Jim?
you wouldn't expect it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You would think it was Jeff.
So we have Jeff Foreman getting defeated by Jim Watson to advance in the staff.
Sorry, Jeff.
Okay, here we go. All right. Next, you get to pick the two, and then I have to pick the winner.
Ooh, I'm going to go with Amy and Kathy.
Amy versus Kathy.
Yeah. That's got to be a tough one.
All right, I'm advancing Amy.
Okay.
When Kathy gets mad, she cries.
All right.
And when you cry, it's over in a street fight.
Right.
Okay. It would be a tussle. There would probably be bloodshed in that one.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think a little bit of the northeastern scrappiness of Amy, and I think that Kathy in her heart is such a good-hearted person, and she'd just start crying instead of fighting, and it would be over at that point, and then it'd just be wailing. So I love them both. I advance Amy.
All right.
In that one. I'm going to give you two. Is that fair? All
Yeah,
right.
that's
Are
fine.
you down with this?
Yeah.
Down with OPP?
Yep.
Okay. This one is a good one. It pits two females, all right?
Okay.
Kara being Tyler's legal assistant versus medical legal assistant Tara Dant.
I'm going to say Kara would win.
Okay.
And my reasoning would be is from talking to the two, Tara seems too nice.
Okay.
Not that Kara's not nice, but I don't know. Kara has more of, I'm not going to say a mean streak, but she's a little bit more outgoing in the sense that she just seems a little more wily than
Wily.
Tara.
That is a good word for Kara. Wily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could see
little bit more
Kara
street
getting
fight in it.
really dirty in the streets.
Oh yeah, I think Kara. I think in the pits, man, she would be.
Oh, yeah.
You know, don't you think?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and she also is quiet during her day. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, again, kind of the Jim Watson factor. So
Right.
You don't know what you're going to get there. And let's say she's a little younger than Tara, I think, too. And so sometimes youth wins out in these fights.
Yeah.
You pick the next two, and I'll pick the winner.
Let's go with Tyler and Holly.
Oh, I was hoping that we would get a Tyler and Davin showdown.
Yeah, but
Tyler and Holly. Whew. All right. Well, this is the epitome of city versus country.
Right.
Okay. And I think that Holly would definitely be the dirtier fighter of the two.
Yeah.
I think she would fight dirty. I think she would go kicking, screaming, slapping, clawing, scratching to the bitter, bitter end. And she's a tough cookie, all right? She is a tough nut to crack, okay? This fight, Tyler Johnson, would be closer than everybody. You may not admit this. It would even be close if I fought Holly, okay? She's tough, man.
Yeah.
Tyler is very quick.
So that's what I was thinking, because he's got that athletic background.
Athletic like that, hard to whip. So I'm giving the edge to Tyler Johnson.
Okay. Because of the athleticism?
In quickness. He's just so fast.
Yeah. He does kind of have a mean streak, though.
And he's mean, but I don't think the meanness is... the meanness negated, I think neutralized is the word. Because Holly is just as frisky, okay?
See, I think Holly would use that athleticism to her gain. I think she would let Tyler wear himself out.
Oh.
And then come out of left field swinging.
Well...
But that's me.
All right, I picked.
But you had to.
I picked Tyler. All right, do we want to advance this bracket, or do we want to establish the other bracket?
Let's
first?
establish the other bracket, and then.
All right, so is it my turn? It's my turn
Yes.
to pick two people.
Yep.
I'm going to pick Chris's secretary, Shannon Jallet.
Right.
And she is going to go against Bria Hoops in the Ohio County office.
Now, normally I would say, kind of like with the Jim Jeff situation, that like Shannon would surprise you, being probably like the nastier fighter, but I really, really get the vibe that Shannon's just too nice.
Do you literally think Shannon could strike someone if they were not harming her husband or her son? Do you think that Shannon could whip up the muster to just waylay somebody?
I think she would try, but I still have this feeling, not saying that she's a wimp, but I have this feeling that she's just very anti-hurting someone and would not want to hurt that other person. And Bria, after having many conversations with her, it's kind of the same thing as Holly. Like, she's a country girl, you know.
She'd open up a can of whoop.
Right, yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're going to advance Bria in that
Yeah,
one?
I would advance Bria. I think she would whoop Shannon.
All right. Okay. So we've got Bria over Shannon. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Give me two.
Let's go with Davin and Kelly.
Davin and Kelly.
Yep.
Am I having to pick the winner here?
Yeah.
Okay, this is easy. Davin sucker punches Kelly down, beneath the belly button. This fight, a year ago, I think Kelly whips Davin. I think she puts the hurt on him. But right now she's vulnerable.
It's true. I didn't think about that.
It's a dirty blow, but we're talking about street fighting, right? You
Right.
find out where they're weak, and you just stomp on it.
I gave it to you.
So
now that I think about it.
advanced Davin on that one. All right, so Davin and Kelly come off the board. So it leaves Bart and John and Travis and PJ. And so I get to pick the next two.
Right.
All right. You versus John Bennett.
And I have to make the decision as to who.
No, I'll pick that one.
Okay.
And then you have to pick between Bart and me. Is that okay?
Okay.
All right. So John Bennett versus PJ Starks. Oh, man. Okay. Here's my thinking. You have thought of so many horrible, gruesome injuries and cuts, stabs, grotesque things that you won't rest till you see blood. All right? And you will take a beating, but you won't relent. And I think that John, at the end of this, John starts the fight way over you. And just when he thinks he's done, because the typical horror movie, he's walking off victorious and your hand comes up and grabs him by the ankle and pulls him down, and you give him a sucker punch to the ribs, and then you've got him down. And then I think you claw his eyes and all kinds of things, because that's the way that you would make the movie. Blood wins over John. PJ advances.
All right.
So that leaves Travis and Bart, Daryl, and you have to make the pick.
All right. So I know to some degree that it's going to sound like pandering. I think it would be you. From what little I do know of Bart, because I haven't had a lot of I've had interaction with Bart. I don't know him that well. But I do know that Bart tends to be overly diplomatic when he talks. Now, that, I mean, I'm not saying that's a facade, but, he just has that background being, the president of a college and everything. No question. But he seems to be overly diplomatic. And I have a feeling that that's going to hurt him when he's in a street fight.
Okay.
I think.
So I beat Bart because he's too diplomatic.
I think the youth thing is there too, because you are a bit younger than Bart. But I think you would fight dirtier than Bart would.
Okay.
Because you strike me as a dirty fighter if it comes down to it.
I won't comment on your comments about that because I don't want it to influence future voting.
Right.
All right. Now, I'm drawing up the advancing bracket here.
Okay.
And this is the Elite Eight down to the Final Four. Okay.
Right.
Jim Watson versus Tyler Johnson.
Honestly, I think Tyler. I think at that point, I'm with you. I think with his athletic background, I think he would be quicker to the draw.
You think he'd whip Jim?
Yeah, I think so. I think that Jim, I don't think he would go down easy, but I think Tyler would have the advantage.
Would this be a long fight?
Oh, absolutely.
That one would take a while.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so and so in other words, for a while, Watson stands toe to toe with Tyler.
Right? Yeah.
It's just youth wins.
Oh yeah, I think it would be close, but I think in the end, I think Tyler would pull ahead victorious.
All right. To me, I have to pick between Amy and Kara. I think it's a good fight. I think Amy would this is a match of two kind of the spunky, just frisky.
Yeah.
I think, let me say this. I think that if Kara was harming Amy's kids, it would take everything in her. But if it's just an old street fight out here, Kara wins that fight. Kara wins.
Okay.
She's just got that. Wily is the perfect word for her. There's something about her.
I think too, maybe it's that. Well, I mean, and I know Amy's got darker hair, but there's just something. I think Kara's is darker.
She's got. Okay, and this is gonna be great. This is setting up perfect for an unbelievable Final Four. All right, Bria versus Travis Holtree. To you.
That is an interesting pairing right there. Oh, man.
Hey, call it as you see it. That's what this is about.
God. I'm trying to...
Come on, dude.
No, I have an answer. I have an answer, but I'm trying to think of a diplomatic way to go about it.
Okay, so you're trying to be like Bart. Be diplomatic here.
I'm trying to be more like Bart. I'm trying to be more diplomatic with the way, because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
You're not hurting. This is Royal Rumble #1 F-dub style. It's all leading to a legal lesson.
Right. Honestly, I think you would win. I think you have the edge in the sense that you work out and you're probably far more limber. Now, once again, I think it would be close because I think you would have that edge over her.
I'm telling you, I would get her down. I would punch her. I would rip her freaking cheeks away from her jawbones, and I would not relent until I won.
I think
advancing to the Final Four.
I think you would be a dirtier fighter than she would. I think once again, I think she would go the distance, but I think when it was all said and done, I think she would tire out before you would because you've got that cardio. I don't think she has that cardio. Okay. Now I could be wrong.
All right, but
that's what I think.
You picked it. Davin versus PJ. I don't know. I need your help on this one. Do you think you could whip Davin?
Well, I'm truthfully probably not. And
you don't think you could whip him?
Here's the thing. I've never been in a fight
I
in my
know.
entire life.
I'm going back to the story of you in middle school, out there in the yard of the middle school, where the bully guy was wanting to whoop you, and you started in on jokes.
Right.
And here's my thing. I think Davin wins the fight because he doesn't fall for the old joke.
See, I would probably try to do that.
Okay. I think that your defense mechanism may have worked to advance you from the first round, but over John Bennett, okay? But I think that because I think you could get Bennett laughing, and then you could sucker punch him and be like one shot and he's out. But Davin doesn't.
Plus, he's lost a lot of weight.
Davin
There's not too much.
Davin
There's not much to John.
Doesn't fall for the humor trick, and he whips you good.
Yeah.
After your first joke goes over the bow. All right, so we're going to advance Davin. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are narrowing it down. We're moving quickly because we got to tie this all in. We are down to a fist fight, a street fight, a dirty brawl between Tyler and his assistant, Kara. PJ, do you want to make that call, or do you want to make the call between Travis Holtry and Davin Shaw?
I'll do the first one.
Okay, so we have Tyler fighting Kara to advance to the championship.
Right. I'm going to go with Tyler. And that's not because he's a man.
Okay.
But I think with his mean streak, and this is going to sound horrible, but I don't think he would hesitate in a street fight to beat a woman.
Yeah, I think he'd drag her down the street by her hair.
I think there would be a lot of clawing and hair pulling. And when that's the other thing, he has that advantage. He has no hair to pull.
Short hair, right? He'd have it shaved.
Now I know that's not the only way that girls
I see
fight.
Tyler showing up to that fight without a shirt on, just like in a pair of jeans and saying let's go, and he'd whip Kara good.
Now if Kara was built like Ronda Rousey.
And maybe she works out and could whip Tyler, and we don't know. It's a side of her we don't know. But hey,
if she was like Ronda Rousey, I would have given it to Kara. But I think I don't know. She's a little bit more. She's a little more on the skinny side. You think she?
I mean, she doesn't whip Tyler. Tyler whips her.
I think Tyler would.
Yeah.
Destroy her. Yeah.
All right, and that means I have to pick. No, I can't pick. So I'm going to have you pick between me and Dad. I can't vote for myself or against Dad.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
or should we pull somebody else in here to say?
You've got to pick between me and Davin in a fist fight.
I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
And what's the reason? The reason there is you have more experience. So I think you have more tricks up your sleeve than what Davin has. And it's just kind of like in life, just in general life. I think that now, I'm not saying that he wouldn't get some good licks in.
Yeah.
I think it would be a knockdown drag out, but I think in the end you would pull ahead because I think you have a little bit more life experience.
I would walk up to Davin and I would step on both of his feet and push him backwards. That's how the fight would start.
With broken ankles?
With broken ankles.
All right.
Right. And then when he is laying on the ground screaming in pain with his broken ankles saying, "I'm tapping out." Oh, that is like shark to a blood. I would beat that little skinny rail silly. I would not rest till he's choking on his own teeth.
Yeah. I want to remind everyone that this episode idea was also by the same guy whose name is on the side of the building we're sitting in. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Here's the deal. It's down to me and Tyler.
Yep.
I will say Tyler would whip me in a fight.
You think so?
I think he would. It would be a tussle, but I'm telling you this. I know what it takes to be good in a fist fight. It's quick hands and agility, move fast. And while I'm 50 and still agile, there's no substitute for those 13 years younger than he is than me, or 14 years younger than he is than me, and he's still fast. Now, if I got a hold of him good, I would wear him. I would take my licks at him. I would. Don't think I wouldn't. And he's going to have to beat me to the point of where I'm hardly breathing.
Right.
But
you also have more hair for him to grab.
Yes. Well, I'd shave before my fight with Tyler. I would. I think Tyler is the champion. I do.
All right. I'll give you that.
I think Tyler H. Johnson is the fist fight, street fighting champion.
Congratulations,
Tyler Johnson. Ding, ding, ding. And you are the winner. Now, the reason I went through this exercise, and we've got 4 minutes, perfect, right? What's your time thing, Sean?
I got 29 minutes.
Okay, so we've got 2 minutes to tie it all together.
Right.
we talk a lot about personal injury cases, and we talk a lot about car wrecks and slip and falls and dog bites and things like that. But one area we've never discussed on our podcast, intentional torts like assault. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. Now, there's a big difference between a negligent act and an intentional act. Okay? Negligence means there's this standard of care that is reasonable under those circumstances, and your actions go outside what's reasonable in those circumstances, thereby causing some type of peril or harm. Okay?
Right.
Injury. An intentional tort says that you have in your mind the intent to cause injury, and assault, being the primary intentional tort that we're talking about here, means that you carry out that intent of injury by putting something into action, and that there is an offensive touching. An assault can be me grabbing you by the arm and pulling you. An assault can be by me
stepping on your feet,
pushing you backwards and breaking your ankles. Exactly. Now, here's the unique, and there are other intentional torts, okay? There are other intentional torts that are different from negligence because they require an intent to act, as opposed to not meaning it, but still your actions go outside of what's reasonable. For example, people run red lights all the time. Some people run them intentionally to beat them. Some people are just not paying attention and they run. Okay, so they're negligent. They don't just say, "Oh, I'm running this red light to hurt somebody." You know, it's negligent. So that's a great example. Now, where this is important for what we do is we get calls about assaults. I've had a lot in my career of people calling saying, "Hey, I was in a, that somebody hit me, somebody did this to me, somebody did that to me or my kid or something like that."
Yeah.
Most intentional acts are written out of coverage on insurance policies. So if my act is intentional, then most likely my homeowner's policy will not cover that. Or if I get in my car and intentionally drag race it and hurt somebody, okay? An intentional tort, an intentional act, most often, almost always, is excluded from insurance coverage, okay? So nobody would be able to make an insurance, unless FWH sponsored such an event, okay? But those intentional acts in a fist fight, an assault, something like that, would not be covered by insurance, which means then you're going after the personal assets of the person that caused the injury, okay?
Right.
All right, now, one exclusion to that is that there can be negligent supervision claims against places that have created an environment in which it's foreseeable that things could get out of control, all right? We had an exact case. We had a case, I'm not going to say, I had a case that was an event. It was an event where alcohol was served.
I know what you're talking
about.
Yeah.
And so the event said, "Oh, we need to get security." But when they got the bill or the bid for what security was going to cost, they said, "Well, we can't spend that much because there's no way we'd make our money." So they intentionally made a decision to cut their budget for supervision and for security and for lighting and things like that would make the event safer. This is an event where they knew that there would be alcohol being served, okay? And lo and behold, something happens and a person gets injured with a bottle, an alcohol bottle, badly injured. And so then that was an intentional act. The person that took the bottle and hit the other person with the bottle intended to do it. But the cause of action that we pursued in that case was against the event organizer for negligent supervision, negligent security, because they had an understanding that it was necessary, but they didn't take the actions to make it a safe event, okay?
Yeah.
And so I say that to tell you that if you or anybody you know has ever been injured or gets injured because of a direct intentional act of somebody, it doesn't mean necessarily there's not a case. It means it may be harder to collect on because there's no insurance, but also there's a potential cause of action if it happens at a place where it could have been foreseeable, okay? So we had 25 minutes of fun picking fights, only to get to this. We never talk about assaults.
No, we don't.
never talk about intentional acts, negligent supervision. It's just another area of law that the attorneys at Foreman, Watson, Holtree have practiced, are currently have cases that are in these areas, and something that if the listeners here know of anybody, or unfortunately they're involved, seek legal counsel, because it's important to do.
Right.
Okay.
So, just a follow-up question for you, since we haven't talked about this. Almost always in these cases, you have to go after the person's personal assets, correct?
Right, and unless there's a rare circumstance that you can hook it into an insurance, an insurance policy, which we currently have a case that we're trying to do that with. But yes, that person is exposed personally with their assets,
right?
And that's why. I mean, this may sound silly, but road rage, okay?
Yeah. I know about road rage.
Right. But okay, so you make the decision that I am mad at this guy. I'm going to flip him off, and then that guy chases you down, and you're still mad at him, and so you pull off into a park, and you get out, and you commence to beating this guy. All right. You better, you made the choice to beat on the guy. You escalated the force. You assaulted. You hit.
Right.
All right. Now, that guy has a claim against you that your insurance probably is not going to pay because it's excluded. And so he could come after you for your personal assets. All right. And so it's important to remember, I mean, even when you're tempted to yell at somebody these days, you don't know who you're messing with. And that person could turn around, and then you find yourself in the middle of something and you hurt that person.
When you're in a wreck and it's someone else's negligence, right? They have an insurance policy that you go after, and that's where the compensation comes from. But when you go after someone because of like an assault and it's against their personal assets, how does that compensation work when you're going after someone's personal assets versus a contract that they have with an organization?
First thing you have to do is you have to get a judgment against them. So unless you talk to them and say, hey, we're going to sue you because you hurt Frank, and Frank has hired us. And the guy says, well, look, I don't want you to sue me. Let's work out a deal. I will pay him X dollars, and I'll come up with that money.
Right.
You don't ask questions. You get the money, and you settle it, and you sign a release saying we've released you from any potential cause of action. Most people, they don't have the money, and so you sue them, and you get a judgment against them, okay? They may defend it, but they a lot of times won't defend those kinds of cases, but they may defend it, and if they defend it, then you have to put on your proof that this is how it happened, and you get a judgment for X dollars. You give that person a reasonable amount of time to pay the judgment. If they don't pay the judgment, you are allowed to file judgment liens against things that they own, and you can force sale of those things.
Okay.
So, for example, let's say this person has a house and they have a mortgage on it, and the house is worth $100,000 and the mortgage is for $30,000. There's arguably $70,000 in equity there, right? So you can put your judgment lien on that, and you can force the sale of that property, and then that person has to pay their mortgage first, pay you second, and then what's left over is theirs. All right.
Oh, wow.
So and now honestly, I've only done this one time. Again, it's subject to a confidentiality provision, but
right.
There's a lot of work on the back end in a case like that, because you're having to find there's certain things that are exempt from judgment liens. There's so it's a lot of work chasing down that money, and that's why you don't see as many of these cases.
Yeah.
But that's maybe answer your question.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Here's what I take away from that is that if you're going to get angry at someone and decide to kick the crap out of them, make sure that they have stuff first.
Yeah, because if they kick that's right.
Because if they're broke and poor, you're in trouble.
Pursue them. Right. That's right. That's right.
If they have no assets,
yeah,
you're in trouble.
Now, here's what we have to do. We have got to make sure, all right, as we close this edition, we've got to make sure that every person in the firm tunes into this one, because we want them hearing about these fistfights, and we want to get some good debate going.
It'll be the first time we get internal hate mail.
Oh man, it's going to be internal hate mail. And just so we're very clear, we had never always. I do need to add this at the tail end here. From day one, I've always joked about 530 Frederick Street. Our building here is a white building, and have always kind of jokingly said coming to you live from the White Tower. Okay,
Right.
high rise White Tower was the catchphrase.
Right.
And you know, that kind of thing has been a joke between you and I, and several have noticed it, and it's been fun for us. And so as we've used that phrase over the course of this first year of podcasting, others have kind of referred to you and I as the White Tower Boys. Now,
Right.
we did not coin that phrase. That phrase was coined for us, not even knowing to us.
I wasn't aware of it until we did the anniversary episode.
And
So
me was like a week or two before that.
Yeah, so technically it was 52 plus
right
2 podcasts.
So, but here's the problem: is that when we did the anniversary edition, when that was said, I was like, you know, hey, that's not white power, because obviously, you know, number one, totally disagree with anything that would be, you know, a white power oriented thinking.
Right.
But
absolutely.
number two, you know, anything that could sound like that's something that we as a firm or we as people support, it needs to be changed. So when it was brought to our attention this week, we got a couple of messages from the podcast.
Yeah.
And we immediately made sure that was taken off of any live air, you know, radio play. And we also have now changed it to coming to you from the White Palace, because
Right.
I don't think the word palace would invoke anything. So anyway, sorry, and obviously point well taken from those who caught that. And
Yeah.
we move on. All right. It's been a great podcast. Thank you for your analysis on the.
No problem.
All right, and let's be making our plans for next week.
Sounds
All right?
good.
Have a good week.
This case should never have come to trial.
I don't think it's fair to call my clients frauds. Because one time I turned into a dog and they helped me. Thank you.
Your Honor, we would like to withdraw our plea of not guilty and enter a plea of guilty.
This trial is a travesty. It's a travesty of a mockery of a sham, of a mockery of a travesty of 2 mockeries of a sham.
If we are to have faith in justice, we need only to believe in ourselves.
And the truth shall set you free!
How do you plead, guilty or not guilty?
Oh, guilty, but with a real good excuse.
I think the truth will come forth.
You can't handle the truth!